The average age of the person I saw in Skokie was 57 years. No matter what a company says, my experience has been that there is a lot of workplace discrimination against the older worker. And even when a company has a policy of, of stating out front that we don't discriminate against age or race or sexual orientation or all the rest of it, some of the de facto discrimination that happens in the workplace happens when an older worker walks into a HR office and the HR person, he or she, is 27 years old and the older worker is 50 years old or older or a little bit younger, and right away there's a generational gap between that gets set up. And let's face it, it's a tough market. You're in competition with lots of other people, and so there's a kind of factor that happens in those situations. So how do you deal with that? What I've learned from some of the people that I've been successful with, or they've been successful in finding a job, is that attitude is very important. What do I mean by attitude? Positive, flexible, smile, showing energy in the interview, willing to do the job as required, being flexible about taking a job that maybe isn't the same level or the same kind of job that you had before. You have to sell the employer that you're going to show up and get the job done. Attitude is very important, and sometimes just getting your foot in the door and then worrying about where you fit in the company can happen later, but getting your foot in the door is the first thing. Secondly, skill set. Older workers often don't have the contemporary skills to get a job in this job market, and many of the people I worked with resisted understanding that. They resisted getting the computer skills they needed, and that's an attitudinal problem also. If you're not willing to get the skills you need for the job, you're not going to get a job. The fourth point I want to make is the job market, and that fits with skill set. You have to think about the job market as any other kind of market in the world. Somebody is buying skills, somebody is selling skills. If you don't know who's buying the skills you have, or if you don't know the skills that you have that you're trying to sell and where you're trying to market them, that's going to be a big problem because it's just if you got something that's in demand and you don't know who's looking for it, you're going to be having difficulties, and that's where we can help a lot of people. The last thing I'll talk about very briefly is statistics. I know you're going to get some more statistics. Last night on the 9 o'clock news, there was a list of career areas that are described as for limited employment, and also they had a list of who's hiring, okay? Essentially, what they said was anybody who's trained in the liberal arts, history, philosophy, architecture, music, just a whole long list, they said terrible, can't get jobs in that. Then they turned around and they said, what's good? Accounting, healthcare, IT, okay, so that's the good ones. I want to remind you that when it comes to statistics, you have to be very careful about what people are telling you. You only need one job, you don't need a whole bunch of jobs. And there are still people that get jobs in music, and there are people that get jobs in architecture, and even history teachers. On the other hand, recently I heard a whole article on the NPR about nurses, okay? Everybody knows nurses are in demand. The graduating class last year couldn't find jobs. How could that be? Everybody knows that nursing is a demand profession. Well, people aren't doing elective surgeries because they don't have the money, so the hospitals aren't getting the business they used to have. They're also getting cuts from Medicare and Medicaid programs. Older nurses were projected to retire, and all of a sudden the older nurses are saying, I can't retire because I can't afford it, or my husband lost his job, or my kids just moved in and I got to support them. So the older nurses stopped retiring, and the combination of these things left what? They left the nurse graduates saying, we can't find jobs in this market, okay? So there's always a way to do it, and you should never give up the hope that it can be done.